Conference, it's always great to be in Brighton, or as we call it in Tooting, London by the sea. I remember my first trip here. My dad was a bus driver and his garage organised day trips for workers and their families. I remember sitting on the top deck of a red London bus all the way down the A23. For a kid from a South London council estate, Brighton was a real treat. Ice cream, the pier, and fish and chips. The proper seaside experience. Back then, neither my family nor I would have dreamt that I'd be standing here today as your candidate to be Mayor for London. And Conference, I'm deeply humbled by the faith you've put in me. Thank you. I want to pay tribute to the 5 great candidates who took part in the selection process. To Tessa Jowell, Diane Abbott, David Lammy, Christian Mulmer and Gareth Thomas. We were briefly rivals, but always friends. I've learned a lot from you all, and I'll be looking for your advice and support over the next 9 months. I want to win this election for one reason: to give all Londoners the opportunities that our city gave me. You know, I owe London everything. London gave my dad the opportunity to get a decent job as a bus driver. It gave my parents the opportunity to get a council house, secure and affordable, so they could save a deposit to get a home of their own. It gave my siblings and me the opportunity to a great state school education and a place at university based on our grades rather than ability to pay, and a good quality apprenticeship for my brother. It allowed me to train as a human rights lawyer, to help run a business, to become the Member of Parliament for my local area, and to serve in Cabinet. London gave my family and me the opportunity to fulfil our potential, and I'm determined to give all Londoners the same opportunities that our city gave me. And that's by fixing the housing crisis and building more affordable homes to rent and buy. By tackling our air pollution that is killing 10,000 Londoners every year. By being the most pro-business mayor ever, helping create jobs and wealth. By giving Londoners the skills they need to get the jobs of the future. By building a modern transport system, but a transport system that Londoners can actually afford to use. By defending our membership of the European Union, good for London's workers, good for London's businesses, and by ensuring all workers are paid a wage they can survive, or not George Osborne's phony version, but a real London living wage. But there's one thing above all others that I'm determined to do for our city, and that is to make it more affordable to buy or rent a home of your own. And that's why I'm going to make the election in May a referendum on London's housing crisis. You know, when I was growing up, every child could aspire to one day own a home of their own. My parents were able to get a council house that meant they could save a deposit to get a home of their own. You know, I slept in a bunk bed at my parents' house until I was 24, so I could save up to buy my first home with my wife. We had to make big sacrifices, but it was possible. Not anymore. Home ownership is falling every year, with an entire generation in London standing no chance of owning their own home. Londoners are spending more and more of their wages on rent. Every year, thousands of Londoners are forced out of our city because they can't afford to put a roof over their heads. And we have the shameful sight of desperate charities buying bus tickets for the homeless so they can sleep on a night bus. This crisis has been a long time coming. Successive governments have failed to build the homes we need. But let's be clear, it's got so much worse under the Tories in City Hall and in government. They failed to build the homes that Londoners need. They've let the big developers off the hook when it comes to affordable homes. They've let flats be sold off to overseas investors to use as gold bricks instead of to Londoners who need them. And you know what? They're about to make it even worse. Next month, the Tories will introduce a housing bill in Parliament that will make it even more difficult for Londoners to rent or buy a home. It should be called No Home of Your Own Bill. It will force councils to sell off their family homes with no guarantee they won't be sold off to foreign investors. And it will sell off housing association homes in London, the last remaining genuinely affordable homes. This will be a disaster for London. I'll be doing everything I can to stop this bill, and I make an offer today to my Tory opponent. Let's work together. Let's work together and stop the government making the housing crisis in London even worse. Let's work together to defend the capital's housing. Show you'll put London's interest before your party interest. I genuinely believe it's possible to fix London's housing crisis. It will take hard work and political leadership, but it is possible. And I have a proper plan to do it. I'll set up a new team of housing experts at City Hall called Homes for Londoners. They will plan, fund and deliver the new homes Londoners need. With me as your mayor, we'll stand up to big property developers and insist that half of all new homes are genuinely affordable. We'll give Londoners first dibs on the new homes that are built. We'll bring in a London live-in rent and we'll build homes for first-time buyers. We will make Labour the party of home owners. But London needs more power over housing. Too much is run from Whitehall rather than City Hall. The government must give London the powers and funding our city deserves. More powers over housing, skills, jobs, health and crime. As a candidate and as your mayor, I'll work with the boroughs to get the best deal for Londoners so that we truly can have more responsibility over our future. Conference. We've all been through an exhilarated and exhausting summer of campaigns. Now, we have a responsibility to face outwards and show the same energy and imagination to win elections. Showing voters we've listened to them and learned the right lessons. To turn our hundreds of thousands of new members and supporters into a fighting force to win power and transform the country. That's what we'll be doing in London. And winning next May matters to the whole country. We'll show that under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, we've dusted ourselves down and we're up for the fight. And I'm up for the fight. But let's be clear, it's going to be tough. Labour has only won City Hall once. We have to win the votes of all Londoners, from disaffected Lib Dems, disgruntled Greens, and yes, dissatisfied Tories. From Westminster to West Wickham, Islington to Isleworth, Camden to Kenton. Winning by working together, by building a movement of members, community leaders, faith groups, business people, and yes, trade unionists. Our campaign will be funded by the hard-earned contributions of working people. Conference, we should never be afraid to say we are proud of our link with the trade unions. And that's why I need your help. United, working together, we can win back City Hall. Together, we can show that Labour can make a difference. So together, let's get to work and win London. Thank you.